Hey, what's up, Vespa amigos? This is Steve from Vespa Motorsport down here in San Diego. It's a sweltering day out, but it's equally hot inside because we're going to be talking about the brand new Vespa Primavera. This bike launched and debuted as a 125 in Europe about a year ago. It's the latest and greatest from Vespa, aside for the 946. But basically, this bike is going to carry the 150cc family of Vespas into the next probably 10 years. The LX is gone, the S is gone, the LXV will be gone shortly. This is the new redesign, completely new engine, new cosmetics, new trim, new you name it. You guys are wondering, where's Robot? Robot stage right. This is gonna be kind of pulling in on that Primavera right now, and we're gonna go over some of the in-depth features. So again, stay tuned. Here we go. That's smooth, dude. All right, here we are. It's the latest Italian beauty. This is the Vespa Primavera 150 fuel-injected motor. It comes in 5 different colors for North America. This color is called the Azzurro Mare Chiaro. It's kind of a beautiful metallic blue. You can kind of see on the back end, body-wise, it takes some of the styling cues from the Vespa 946 with the indent panels here on both sides, the left and the right. Looks pretty elegant. Flush turn signals, nice tail light with a chrome bezel around it. Look at the back of the frame as it kind of teardrops and drops off pretty sharply. That's the most radical rear end of any of the modern Vespas, very much so like the 946. Good size floorboard, good passenger foot pegs, good room for the driver's feet there. Robot, what can you tell us about the front of the scooter?
Has some of the styling cues of the 946. This new chrome trim finish that they've been using on some of the new bikes. It's got unbelievable fit and finish. It's very nice. Some other nice styling cues like the chrome little embellishment in the horn grille. A completely redesigned front end. The forks, it dives much less than any of the other Vespas when you actuate the brakes. The handlebars, the ergonomics have been completely redesigned. First Vespa that modern Vespa that includes a chrome headlight bezel. The instruments have been completely redesigned, kind of a la Ford Thunderbird, with some digital instrumentation for the clock and some other various informations on the little digital display right there. New switch gear right here. You know, a little bit better feel than the old switches that they had. Lights up real nice, all LED backlit.
Notice it's got a fuel bar system instead of the old conventional, less than accurate fuel gauges that you found on the earlier bikes. There's 2 different settings for the odometer. There's 2 trip settings that are pretty nice. Actually play around with the mode button. We'll get into that later. And then panning down, actually, just like with the other 300s and 150s that this bike is replacing, it's got a good size glove box that you open by pushing in on the key, releases the glove box. Large amount of storage on either side. That's great. Another huge improvement with this 150 over the bikes that it's been replacing, there's actually a seat release built into the console. I don't know, I own a Vespa 150 and find myself continually getting annoyed by having to take the key out to open the actual seat. This has got the standard push button. So push that button. The seat, newly redesigned, has a nice spring-loaded hinge in the front. So it actually kind of opens and stays open. You know, a lot of times when you're kind of playing around with the seat, move the handlebars, the seat comes down on you, pretty annoying. Not so much with this one. Good under-seat storage bucket that in the, sticking with the Vespa lineup is removable. So if you spill something in there, you can take it out and clean it. This is cool. They've never done this, right, Robot, with a little carpet liner?
New for the Vespa line is having the carpet kit.
Molded piece of carpet that you can actually remove. It's kind of nice. That'll probably insulate some of the heat that always kind of radiates up from the engine. How big is the gas tank, Robot?
I think it holds 0.2 of a gallon more than the old LX. I think it's 2.4 gallons, somewhere in that range. One thing to keep in mind, this new 3-valve engine on these gets substantially better fuel economy than the old 2-valve motor. Similar performance, but you get better mileage, and it's also a smoother, more refined engine. With the service intervals are much further apart. Basically, every 6,000 miles when you do an oil change or any sort of service, you know, as per the service schedule, on this bike. Every 3,000, they recommend you do an inspection, but for the services that cost some money and you need to, you know, change the oil or change a belt, that's every 6,000 on this bike to inspect. Everything's been designed to last a little bit longer in the engine and driveline. As for the lights, this is the American market, so they're a little different than what you'd find on a European one. American market, of course, you got to have these pods that are a little further apart. They did retain the running lights. In Europe, these would be the turn signals, but up here is what we get for turn signals right here. You got the high beam, low beam. It's got the pass. And on the back, they kind of change up with the turn signals functionality. In Europe, these are the turn signals. On American ones, they're running lights. I think they're kind of weird, actually. Personally, I'd prefer this lights up. People think, well, why is the tail light? This is called the tail light. It's not lit up as a tail light. Basically, that's your brake light right there. And there's your tail or running lights. Then you got your turn signals. So a little different, something unique for the American market.
Standard, actually, they've relocated the battery. Normally on the 150s, it was back up higher up. Now it's in the center console, a la the GTS 250, 300, even the GT200's had it down there.
Yeah, kind of lower center of gravity. Anytime you add anything that has some mass and you put it along the line of between the two axles, you kind of lower the center of gravity of the whole overall vehicle. Tire sizes changed on the rear for the 150. These that now have 11-inch rear tire.
Oh, okay, cool.
11-inch in the front, same as the LX and S. They've had the 11-inch ever since the LX was introduced. But the 11-inch rear is a new size for this bike here.
Cool Primavera badging, all of the script style. Kind of pays homage to the original Primavera that came out in 1967. That was historically always a great selling bike for the Vespa family. They made a vintage Primavera from 1967 all the way until like the mid-90s, really. So you can kind of see, again, styling cues. You kind of step back and appreciate it, and it's all its marvel. Very much so looks like the Vespa of the future, still paying homage to the Vespas of the past year. Very, very well designed scooter. Fit and finish, the best yet of any Vespa, really, honestly. Wouldn't you say, Robot?
Yep, right on par with the 946. It's kind of this is basically built on the same architecture as the 946. Basically, the backbone of the frame is all the same items that you find in the 946. It's got the newer engine mount system, very similar to the GTS. It's a lot, you know, isolates the engine vibration, but also retains kind of a rigid feel. That's like a new upgrade for the 150, 125 Vespas. The older ones were kind of flexy and not so good. They've kind of just improved everything to refine the overall package of this scooter.
Cool. Let's come in close, cut, and kind of see some of the features up close and personal. All right, welcome to Primavera School 101. We're going to get down and dirty, super technical. Here goes Robot. First of all, talking about the instrumentation, the handlebar configuration, because that really is what makes this bike look that much trickier and advanced than the bike it's replacing. Robot, take it away.
All right. Again, the refinement level is much higher than any other 150 Vespa. Got the new instrument cluster design, kind of veering from the same shape they've used on the LX and GTS. It's, you know, well over 10 years old. All LED backlit, kind of looks really nice at night, kind of blues and whites. It's just looks really nice and it's elegant. Kind of looks like a much higher end, you know, high-end car of some sort. You know,
nice. It's the shape of a happy, smiling mushroom.
Oh, there you go. I haven't seen that one.
Look at that. That's what I see it from my vantage point.
Nice thing is this is built a lot better. There's no longer the little clock battery that go out. All the time I get scooters coming through here. Like, why does my clock not work? Oh, you got to replace this clock battery, and it takes you 18 minutes to dig into this dashboard to replace it. 18 billable minutes to change that out.
But this one, so this clock is actually tied into the electrical system. So as long as the battery works, the clock works, right?
Uh-huh.
I noticed too, there's also, what, the odometer?
It's got a trip odometer, total miles, so it's got a little bit more. The trips are nice. You could kind of
chart your fuel economy, right?
Yeah, chart your fuel economy, or just if you're measuring, you can set 2 of them. Basically, I mean, this is a brand new bike, so it's got 0 miles on the odometer. But if you go to any of these trips, this mode button I'm pressing, that's what's toggling through the 3 modes, basically odometer, trip A, trip B. And if you wanted to reset the odometer, you just actually hold down the mode button until it resets, but it's already at 0.
So that's how you would reset trip A or trip B, right? How would you set the clock on this one, Robot? People always ask that question.
Yeah, a little different. Go to total miles, which is your odometer mode. Ignition's on, scooter's not started, doesn't, hold the mode button. And we're gonna set it. That's 11 p.m. here. So it's 11 p.m., but you can see it just timed out. But if I hold it again, hold it for about 3 seconds.
Let's change it to 11:30 or 12:30.
Okay. So I'm just toggling it through. There's 11. Hold down the button again until it toggles to your minutes. And 16. So I'll add one more. And then hold it down again until the clock just stays solid. And there you go. Now the clock's set. One thing about this odometer or the speedometer is the outside scale is actually the kilometers. The inside scale is miles. Right now the odometers are set to miles. You can see the little miles on there. If you ever need to change it from kilometers to miles or vice versa, you want to turn the ignition switch off. Put your finger on the mode button. Turn it on. It needs to be just about 2 seconds. I'm still holding I'm going to release the button after 2 seconds after turning the ignition on. So I'm turning on. 1, 2, let go of it. Now it went to kilometers, so kms. So, again, it has 0 on it, so it's, not reading anything. But
so you do the same process to switch it back to miles.
Yeah, toggle back to miles here. So 1, 2, miles now. You got to do it short. If you hold it too long, it doesn't actually change it.
Notice the kill switch is in the same spot, pretty standard for all North American scooters. Nice reconfigured mirrors. They look nice adjustability, good quality chrome. Again, look at how tightly finished the rubber caps are. Again, just everything fit and finish wise is actually quite a bit nicer on this one. You've got all the dummy lights inside the dash, right, Robot?
Yeah,
check engine light,
check
oil
engine
light,
low oil light.
low fuel light probably.
Yeah, there's a turn signal indicator right there. The low fuel light's actually right there. Your high beam, once you start it, the headlight, actually to conserve the battery power, the headlight doesn't come on until you start the scooter. So you got your high beam right there.
This is actually pretty cool. This is common on a lot of scooters, a lot of European cars. We can actually flash the high beam. You see that there? I can't think of any real Piaggio products have had that, but none of the Vespas have actually had that. It's actually pretty cool. It's a good way to signal drivers. I like it.
Another little hidden light right there, that little dot right there actually flashes when the ignition is off, just kind of a security immobilizer light.
Let's turn the ignition off so we can see that happen.
You can see that. It's kind of...
So it kind of blinks once every
yeah.
second and a half or something like that. And again, just like all the other Vespas, these are chipped keys. So, there's the master key and the program key. So the only 2 keys that will start this bike are these 2. And that's basically what that light is indicating to a potential thief, really. It's a nice anti-theft and security kind of thing.
And to show you, the keys are out, kind of, the bike, it's not, the column's not locked, but you can actually open the seat, the electrically actuated seat. Keys aren't in it, the scooter's not running. Open the glove box.
Let's get down in here and see this one. So that's the actual backup
Say your battery's
cable.
dead, you want to open the seat, you can actually just pull that little lever.
So again, that lever pulls forward and releases the seat in the event that the battery were to die. But good storage on either side.
Both sides.
Nice little tray to keep stuff from falling out. That's actually a simple but big improvement. The hinging on the doors feels much more solid than normal on some of the other Vespas.
All fuses are right here now. And the old LX had fuses in multiple locations. Sometimes we had to take the horn cover off. So pretty much close that up and you can turn your handlebars to the far left and we'll go ahead and put the key back in and go ahead and turn it counterclockwise. Pull the key out, now it's locked. Column's locked, can't open the glove box, and the seat release button is locked out. It's electronically locked out, so you can't open the seat by pressing that button. So the scooter's safe to be parked.
Another thing that's pretty cool, kind of pan down here to the front, there's like the little accessory hook that pulls out. Because the Vespa LX has always had that built into the seat, but that's a super handy, practical little feature. So when you're buzzing along, hook a bag of groceries there, extra helmet, kind of whatever.
It's more a little technical. Show you where all the business of the scooter is. Pull the bucket out. Let me bust out my little flashlight. I don't know if it's going to blow out the camera. How's it look, Scott?
That's all right.
So there you go. You kind of see the engine. Fuel injection system is completely different on this scooter. It's like a new injection system for Piaggio. It's just the individual throttle body. The actual electronics are up front that control it. This is for the American market. They have, this is the evaporative emission system. Kind of traps the fuel vapors. Generally, they don't have too many issues on these Vespas. I would suggest leaving it alone. It's already there, protecting the environment for you.
That's important. Piaggio, go green.
One other accessory that you can get, we'll have the part number up here. You can get the seat cover. They don't have the seat cover. Basically, the seat cover goes in here, and there's a little rivet that holds it in place.
Pretty cool feature, standard on a lot of the Vespas. People don't realize this a lot of times. You see these two little spikes. That's designed so you can hook the D-ring of your helmet on that. The helmet hangs down there. You close the seat, lock the seat, and your helmet's secure. So in this case, Robot's badass dirt bike helmet, no one's going to steal that thing. Very,
I mean, it's so ugly.
That's right. It's so ugly, it's so dirty. Not the most common scooterist helmet, but it gets the job done. But that just goes to show, like a bike with that large a chin still fit on there with the seat closing easily. That's actually a good sign. What else do you want to say, Robot? Maybe talk about...
I don't know, two mechanical changes. I mean, it's the completely new design motor. You know, there's not one part shared with in that motor with the old motors. Been designed for better fuel economy and longer runtime between services.
What's technically different about it that makes it so you can actually do that?
I think some of the parts are built to better tolerances. They've completely redesigned a cylinder head. They call it the 3-valve head. It's an air-cooled engine, just like all the other 150s. But basically, there's 2 intake valves and 1 exhaust valve. And generally, on engine designs, you usually have larger flow for the intakes. So they're able to gain a better intake flow by doing 2 intake valves, you know, versus the traditional.
Let me ask you about like
systems.
the belt, the variator and clutch components.
Uh-huh.
So a lot of people are always kind of concerned about scooters and how often they quote unquote need belts and such.
Uh-huh.
This one, I mean, there's a lot of talk with the BB350 being that newly designed clutch variator and stuff like that. So you get a lot more belt life out of them. Is it?
This is similar intervals. You know, every 6,000 miles, you need to go in there and do a full inspection. And by 12,000 miles, you need to change that belt.
By comparison, what a normal 150 was the
normal one, the older 150, the leader motor as they called it, every 3,500 miles you go in there for a belt inspection and clean the variator out, and then every 7,000 miles you replace the belt. So on this, it's not quite twice as the intervals.
Pretty close, actually.
But pretty close.
Very significant, enough to get people excited, that's for sure. And is it like a different style of variator and clutch, or are they just more sophisticated components in the way that they're manufactured?
I think it's just more sophisticated components. Yeah, it's all built pretty traditional. You know, dry 3-shoe clutch and.
Got it. You must say, like, just like from a novice perspective, the actual belt cover in its own right is significantly larger than the leader motors, you know, and almost seems like just like the clutch components are bigger or something.
I've had this all apart, well, not this particular bike, but these motors, and it's kind of an odd arrangement. Some parts are actually larger and some are smaller, and I think that's through years of experience and engineering and research. They're able to determine what parts need to be strengthened to give you longer you know, life between of the items, and some parts don't need to be overbuilt, so that saves in weight. Having smaller parts sometimes increases in efficiencies in the motor. You know, there's a number of things they've done. Same with the starter system on these. It's all actually internal in the oil bath. The old 150s and 50 engines, they've had this system called it's all dry. There's nothing lubricated. It's called the starter Bendex. And that gear is like prone to failure on those engines. This engine, they go to a one-way clutch that's in an oil bath, and they have way less way fewer problems. Same system that's used on the 300 Vespa, any of the larger Vespas.
Any idea what this weighs?
Similar weight. I don't know.
Like 250 or thereabouts?
Somewhere in that range, yeah. Doesn't feel any. Actually, riding around feels a little lighter, and you can tell because they've moved some of the mass down lower, and that kind of gives a bike a lighter feel when you move.
We can kind of,
such as the battery, the fuel's a little bit lower, but the overall scooters, I mean, similar ride height of the old LX.
Yeah, but the one thing I'd say the seat height is right around 31, 32 inches or something like that.
Yeah, it's a good inch and a half off the ground just with the center.
Yeah,
stand.
that's true actually. Good point. Wheelbase-wise, it feels about the same length as the.
I think it's slightly longer.
Slightly longer than the old one. Robot was touching on the front fork. I mean, you can kind of tell how radically different that is just from
they've
10 feet away, actually.
Changed the pivot around, 90 degrees on the front suspension link, and it allows the suspension to dive a lot less when you're braking on the system.
I think I noticed one thing here too. There apparently isn't a speedometer cable, right, Robot?
Yeah, the new instruments are completely electronic. There's no speedometer cable. That was a prone failure item.
That's a huge advancement, and that's the magnetic counter.
That's correct.
Guy right there.
It basically counts the bolts on the brake disc rotor. That caliper's shared with the GT200 or GTS 300.
That's a 4-piston or a 2-piston?
2-piston sliding caliper. Those brake pads last forever on the 300s. They're definitely going to last forever on this bike.
So on the old 150-liter motors, it was just a single piston, right?
No, it's a double piston opposed piston, but much smaller brake pads. So they're prone to, generally the front brake pads on the older models, they last about the same life as the front tire. So.
While we're talking brakes and suspension, what can you tell us from rear suspension, rear brakes?
Pretty conventional, just a single shock.
Regular drum brake, right?
Regular drum brake. They did go to a larger diameter drum on this, so the brake shoes are likely to last a lot longer than the ET-LX ones.
And you said it's got an 11-inch back tire, so that's a 120/70/11.
That's correct, yeah, and that's a new size.
Brand new size for North America. 11 inch has always been a bit of a, kind of, pardon the French, but a bit of a bastard size. So this is going to be an interesting one. But it does have a Michelin City grip, pretty standard with what most of the new Vespas are coming with. On the service side, Robot, you guys have had nothing but like rave reviews from
no issues.
Customers.
This motor's been in the Fly 150 here in North America for a while. We have a number of customers that have close to 10,000 miles on their Fly 150s, and those scooters have been out for not quite 2 years yet, but like a year and a half. And
what haven't we covered technically? This door pops off. You can actually access a spark plug through that door.
Yeah, you actually the spark plug's more center located on this engine, so you could access it right through there. Again, it's not an item that needs to be serviced too frequently.
So that was pretty much it. We got a little technical at times. Thanks for sticking with us. Key things to remember about the new Primavera: better brakes, better performance, better suspension, better fuel economy, roughly half the maintenance, so fewer oil changes. The belts last twice as long. The larger rear tire is going to be longer tire life. What does all that mean to you? Lower cost of ownership. So thank you very much, Vespa. Thank you, Piaggio. You've done it again. This thing's a beauty. As a huge fan of the 150s, personally can't wait to add one of these to the collections. Let's go for a ride.